to listen on a different set of ports. Well, you would use the ESXCLI command to actually add those new incoming and outgoing ports. Now, you might be asking yourself, all right, well, why would I need to actually go to the command line to edit customized incoming and outgoing ports for an ESXi host? And if you think about it, I mentioned numerous times at this point that ESXi really is designed to be an appliance operating system. And so it's really designed to receive the instructions that come to it from vCenter. And you really can't, I mean, you can, but you can't really install software to ESXi. Persisting changes in ESXi are somewhat different because of the way it handles its file system. So there's an argument that a lot of the different third-party solutions may have to leverage the activities that they want to leverage through some sort of other mechanism that may not necessarily involve modifying the firewall. So again, you can create custom ports if you want to. However, creating those custom ports is something that you would do via the command line. There's one final topic here that we want to talk about, and that is adding your ESXi host to a specific authentication services server. And you'll notice here that our directory services type is currently set to local authentication. If I wanted to adjust this, I could do so by changing it from local authentication to Active Directory, and then punching in, okay, company.pri, and then clicking the Join Domain button here. And you'll see I'm going to use my username and password to log that into the domain. One thing that you should be aware of when you do so is that when I log this into the domain, if I use my standard domain authentication credentials, that's going to put me in a specific organizational unit. But if I click the Help button here, you'll notice that one of the things that you can use is also this /container/path structure for making sure that the account that you're using to log in or to log this host into Active Directory goes into a certain organizational unit. So in my case, it would be company.pri/servers/ESX, for example, to ensure that this domain gets added in not under the default container, but under a specific organizational unit. Now you'll notice a second thing here, and that is if I attempt to go to Active Directory, I have the option of choosing what's called a vSphere authentication proxy. Now when I go and actually join the domain without the services of a vSphere authentication proxy, I'm going to have to put those domain join credentials somewhere inside of that ESX host. And an argument exists that with it being on that ESX host, someone that's looking to sniff for domain credentials could potentially find those and use those to do some very bad things. And so the vSphere authentication proxy presents a single location that proxies the authentication on behalf of those ESXi hosts, so you don't have to put that password information directly on the hosts. Now where do you get this? The vSphere Authentication Proxy is yet another one of those tools that's found on the vSphere 5 DVD. We've looked at this screen, this installer screen, a couple times before. And if I go down here and choose the VMware vSphere Authentication Proxy and attempt to install it, it will actually go through and create an IIS application, more or less, on whatever server I attempt to install it. I'm not going to install it, just you don't really need to see all the installation for this piece. But if you install this and then ultimately point your hosts at this authentication proxy with the right information, well, that's going to give you all the information you need in order to proxy in a much more secure way the connection of this ESXi host off to your Active Directory. So what have we talked about in this nugget? We've really gone through the whole process of securing down from a permissions perspective, and then from a network attack surface perspective, both vCenter Server and ESXi. We spent a lot of time talking about privileges and how you would go from I create a role, I want to assign the role to a group, I want to assign users to that group, and then ultimately that role to whatever permissions and whatever objects inside of the vCenter tree. That whole process does a really intelligent job of allowing you to specifically and discreetly design what types of actions you want different people to do. Excellent, excellent solution, particularly when you want other people to be assisting you with your vCenter activities. And then we also spent some time with some of these miscellaneous topics like adjusting the ESXi firewall and then adding that ESXi host to a directory service, both directly and through an authentication proxy.